Well, folks, Zoom meeting Regis has returned, and I'm here to talk about some new data mined cards. The upcoming Masters of the Arcane season has hit the client, so we've got an early look here at some upcoming cards. It's all about wizards and skills. Skills are definitely not spells, but they sure seem like it so far anyway. But we've got a bunch of new cards to talk about. Lots of detail with these two. Some pretty complex and intricate designs. That said, of course, none of these are final. These are all early looks. A lot of cards at this stage still get changed, so numbers might change. Sometimes they get totally reworked from where they are today. That said, can still give us a cool little insight into some of these designs and thought processes, and some of these cards will remain unchanged. We'll see them in the game almost exactly as is, almost always. So that said, let's go ahead and kick things off here with Merlin. And Merlin here is a 2/3 with, at the start of each turn, add a wizardly incantation to your hand. And the wizardly incantations here are each going to be skills that cost 1 and have no power. Since they are skills like Agamotto's skills, they will automatically be banished after they're played. And they are these: Polymorph. On reveal, transform your lowest power other card here into one that costs 2 more. Kind of seems less like a polymorph. And I mean, I guess you can polymorph into bigger things, but I usually think of polymorphing as like making it a tiny thing. And the artwork does feature a squirrel. But anyway, it's going to make something small big. So you can take a rock, and basically turn it into a 3-drop and potentially gain a lot of stats or cool effects. We've got Omniversal Presence, 1 cost again. On reveal, replace this location with a new one and give Merlin +2 power. Which Merlin's going to be in play if you have this, so I guess he could technically be removed by something, but usually he's going to be there, so it's like +2 power and like a Scarlet Witch effect. It's pretty good actually. I think a 1/2 with some of that location transform gives you a lot of upside. And then finally, Once and Future is 1 cost. On reveal, shuffle your lowest power other card here into your deck and get +2 energy next turn. So you can take a rock or a squirrel, trade it into your deck, and get a nice little energy boost. And 2 energy is definitely significant at the cost of some tempo. That's usually going to be worth it because, most decks will be able to make up any power loss there with a nice energy boost. And you could even have something like, the Hood, for instance, where you're not even losing power, might help you gain power and still get a nice energy boost. Do keep in mind, though, that card is going to be put into your deck. So, you could potentially redraw that rock or some bad card instead of something good. So there's also a little bit of a draw cost there. But ultimately, I think all 3 of these are actually pretty good. Polymorph in particular could be a nice little stat bump. Omniversal Presence has a lot of utility there. That Scarlet Witch effect, that's something I feel like I often want to run in decks, like location transformation or manipulation can be very powerful. And then Once in Future, energy, we know bonus energy can be very, very cool. And the nice thing is, you're getting a lot of these and they're like flexing into turns super easily. If you think about something, like Kate Bishop, for instance, 2-cost cards, adds a couple 1-cost things to hand. That flexibility is so nice, helps you fill your curve. I don't know if these are necessarily as good as all the Kate Bishop cards. Like those are just kind of more reliable or trustworthy or don't demand like conditionality. Sort of like these, want you to have lower cost things. The location one's not as problematic, I guess. But 2 of the 3 here at least, want you to have something low on board, probably small stuff tokens or whatever, to really benefit. So but you're getting a lot of these, right? You're getting one on turn 2 to play on turn 3, turn 3 to play on turn 4, etc. So it definitely helps you fill in a curve really nicely, which is very cool. Just giving you a lot of options, a lot of choices. So for me, this looks good. I think actually rather nice here, just giving you all these cool tools. And they also don't occupy space, which is nice as skills. Sometimes that can definitely be a benefit. On reveal bonuses are also possible here. So, you end up with a big Merlin, some cool transformed locations, and a bunch of energy. That's all really rather nice. So I think Merlin looks like one of those generically good, just like toss it into a lot of decks, help fill out your curve. He's going to do independently good things. That is usually a recipe for a very successful card. It's honestly in the vein of like Kate Bishop or Iron Patriots or Sam Wilson, like those 2-drops you just toss into every deck. This one definitely falls off hard later. You play this on turn 6, it's just a 2/3, but not a disaster. And anytime you hit him on 2, just an awesome engine. And we're also going to see some cards to support skills specifically. Let's just go ahead and talk about that one. This is Nicolas Scratch. He is a new 1/2. As you can see, we don't have the logos for all these just yet. And he very simply reads, after you play a skill, +1 power. So, if you get some Merlin skills every turn, weave in one of those. You get some Agamotto skills. We're going to see even more skills in this video. Wizards love skills, not spells, skills. There are probably going to be cards later that use skills that are, not spell based. A martial artist using some fancy skill or whatever. But anyway, for now, they're all seemingly spells. And you got yourself a nice scaler, right? So Merlin could give this guy an easy +3 or something throughout the course of a game, and then Agamotto tosses in a little bit. I could see this, being a 1/5, 1/6, 1/7 in a skill-based deck. And he's starting as a 1/2, which is a fine starting spot. So you don't need crazy results to make this totally worth it in a deck that's just kind of running all those skills and looking to fill in a little bit. Again, though, this is one that does fall off when played late. This is not like an ongoing effect that says +1 power for each skill played this game. That would give it a lot more flexibility, so you can play it later. So this is definitely a card you want to hit on one. Those fall off pretty hard later. And then again, a card that's also very just niche, very focused. You have to have a deck with a sufficient number of skills to make this one feel worth it. So you probably do want, 1/5 or more for this to feel really good as a 1-drop. So a little bit narrow, a little bit focused, but I do like that it's just rewarding skills and committing to this actual thing as a game plan almost, not just as a generically good set of bonus cards, which is what Agamotto and Merlin have been so far, but we're going to talk about even more skills in this video. Speaking of which, we have the Ancient one here, a 3/5 with on reveal, add a Tau Mandala to your hand. That is a 3-cost skill on reveal. Your characters here copy the text of one of your ongoing cards here, which basically lets you triple an ongoing effect, which could be completely insane. For the sake of an easy example here, think about playing the Ancient one on turn 3, then on turn 4, let's just say you play the Thing, for the sake of this example, the Thing, a 4/6. Then on turn 5, you play Iron Man. Then on 6, you play the Tau Mandala. That thereby gives the Ancient one and the Thing the ongoing effect of Iron Man, and you have triple Iron Man in an 11 power location. So you go to 22, 44, 88 power right there with just that little sequence. Clearly that's really all in on one spot. Maybe not the best game plan, but the takeaway of this story is that unlike say Images of Icon, which allows you to turn small things into big things and get this big stat gain, and sometimes to a big effect gain as well. This one's more about preserving the stats while gaining an effect of something that is, low powered. So Iron Man is very, very powerful, but he has a low power number. He's 0 power. But if you give, Iron Man's effect to a 6 power card or a 5 power card, that's completely insane, right? So kind of the opposite direction a little bit of Images of Icon, where you take high powered things and give them the effects of cards that wouldn't normally have so much power, like Iron Man, and that does create a lot of opportunity and crazy high roll potential. There's also just Triple Onslaught. What does that let you do? There's all these crazy lines that could happen, and maybe it's easier to work with even squirrels. Okay, just give the squirrels Iron Man's effect, and then you don't need to commit so much power or energy to that location. There's little things you could do like that that just the ceiling on this card is insanely high because of that potential, and any kind of energy cheat or extra manipulation here, Quinjet making this cheaper, that sort of stuff, could create some really just absurd results. I do think, there's a challenge when it comes to curve and just consistency of this. It's kind of awkward. You play this on 3, you got to weave that in. You got to find that moment to play the Tau Mandala, and you got to play the ongoing card for it. It might not be easy to sequence all of that out, or even really build a deck that's good for it, because you sort of want to isolate a good key ongoing target with other stuff. Just making all those pieces line up might be a bit challenging. So I could see this one of those cards that has super high ceiling, but also kind of a low floor. In other words, it might whiff or feel awkward in many instances, or just be challenging to build a deck for. But I still am very excited to try this, because this seems completely nuts. Sometimes getting some of those just absolutely crazy high roll results. So moving on here, we have Clea. She's a new 1/1 and reads, after this card permanently gains power, add a Flames of the Faltine to your hand. That's if this is in hand or in play, which is important. I think if this card had to only be buffed in play, that would be really, really tough. There's not as many good in-play buffs. We've got like Kahori coming out or Iron Heart. There's obviously stuff that gives permanent power, but it's a little more limited. I think in hand is better because you've got, like Gwynpool suddenly becomes kind of amazing. Nakia becomes really amazing as well. I guess Okoye still doesn't work because this doesn't say in deck, in hand, or in play, but there's still more options that way. You're kind of doubling up on the options that are possible. Also, this is just chilling in hand. You want to play other cards, you want to play your one drop Nicholas. You can do that instead and then save her in hand for later. She still gets, buffed up. That's nice. But anyway, Flames of the Faltine, as you've probably already read, is a 1-cost skill on reveal. Afflict an enemy card here with -2 power. So kind of a 1-2 in total output. But it is nice sometimes to add power to spots when you're not committing your own spots, like you're saving space for yourself as a skill. I will say though, that said, in total, like it is still only 1-2, and you have to spend kind of a lot of energy to get all these pieces going. And this Flames of the Faltine like doesn't feel as crazy as like Winds of Watum, for instance. That to me feels far more efficient, but maybe with some like on reveal synergies, you've got Joaquin Torres, but buffing every Flames of the Faltine, making it -4. Like there are ways to support that. I do wish kind of the numbers got pushed here a little bit because there is conditionality on Clea. You do have to buffer. You're spending energy doing all of that stuff, but maybe it's just kind of a flexible addition to a buff deck, of which we've played a few of those lately, where you're looking to fill the boards with swarms and Mr. Sinisters and all this stuff. She might be kind of a flexible way to just okay, I got a Flames in hand. I'm just gonna weave that in and flip the script a little bit. I don't really see affliction synergies on this because you're not gonna be able to stuff affliction deck synergies and buff synergies all together. A little bit too much work there, but I could almost see this card getting pushed up a little bit in stats, or I don't want the Flames to be 0 cost. That would probably be too easy to work with. But I don't know, just a little underwhelming from a numbers and conditionality standpoint. It's just a lot of moving pieces to get this going and to play these out. So I would rather just have a Merlin, I think, giving me more reliable results, perhaps, whereas this demands that support of gaining that permanent power. All right, so our next card here, this one's pretty crazy. Dormammu has appeared. He is a 7/10, which is cool for evolution pools. Another big 7-drop here. He's got game start, begin a summoning ritual, which adds the first step to your hand. And there are 3 steps here. First is a 0-cost skill. On reveal, merge your highest power destroyed card with Dormammu to continue the ritual. And I presume that is wherever Dormammu is. He's obviously not going to be on board yet because you have to kind of summon him with step number 3, I guess. I guess you could also technically play him if he is drawn at some point. But anyway, your card can be anywhere, so you have to have destroyed something first, and then you will want to have played this 0-cost card. So it could be anything. Play out a 1-drop, and it's Uncle Ben, and then you Carnage Uncle Ben. Immediately follow up with the 0-cost skill right after the Carnage. Uncle Ben is merged with Dormammu. Then you get your next skill added to hand. You continue the ritual. That is a 1-cost. On reveal, Dormammu steals 1 power from each other card here to continue the ritual. So you'll just play this out at a location with some stuff. Dormammu will either be chilling in hand or in deck or whatever still at this stage. And then, if you steal from 3 cards, Dormammu is going to be merged with Uncle Ben's. That's 12 power, and then he's going to gain 3 more power from the stolen cards to go up to 15 power, I guess, in this particular instance where you've stolen 3 power. Which is actually very good, by the way. Like, you're giving -3 for only 1 power or 1 energy. That's actually really nice. And if you find a full location, that's even crazier, right? So, like, essentially a big debuff on the opponent's stuff and a big buff on Dormammu. And then on stage 3, on reveal, destroy 2 of your other cards here to summon Dormammu. So you're going to need 2 cards in a given location. It sounds like this is conditional, like you have to destroy the cards to make it happen. So, you load up a Bucky and a Wolverine. You play this skill, finally. It destroys the Bucky and the Wolverine, and you also summon a 15-power Dormammu in this example, but he could be notably larger as well. Which is cool, and you don't have to spend the full energy on Dormammu. The way this is really worded is you kind of only have to spend 4 energy here to get your Dormammu in play, and he's like gigantic, which actually seems kind of crazy. It isn't even hard to do. Like the conditions here exist. You have to do like destroying stuff, and you have to make sure you're doing it fast enough, of course, to get all these things going. But I don't think like a destroy deck has any problem doing that. By the way, like, and I don't think you need anything crazy to merge into or whatever. Any target's fine. You just want to get the ritual moving. So I don't know. I look at this and I kind of see like a 415 or bigger. Like it doesn't seem hard to me. And it's even more than that, really, because you're kind of stealing as well. So I don't know. As this reads, this looks like insanely good to me. I don't know if I'm missing something about the mechanics of this. It obviously could change as well. These costs, I think, could actually go up pretty easily as well. So as this is written, this looks really insane, really cool, like super awesome. Destroy synergies. There's even maybe like some weird Phoenix Force world here too. You could kind of try to merge those two worlds together. Super flame looking stuff. So yeah, I think this is going to get changed as it sits because it just looks very strong and very easy. So moving on to some non-skill cards here, we have Nightmare. This one's pretty nuts. A 2/2 on reveal. Replace the text of each card in your hand with that of a random card that costs the same amount. And this is kind of like an alternative Sauron, and I would argue way better than Sauron. Because if you have any cards with bad text but really big numbers, which is what Sauron decks have, you got your Red Skull, really bad text but a really big number, Typhoid Mary, etc., Starbrand. This has a very good chance to just remove that bad text and add even more good text instead of just removing instead of removing bad text and still having great results, like Sauron's very good, this just gives your star brands like, I don't know, speeds text. And then it's like, oh god, my star brand just got like +6 this game. Oh my god, that is insane. Or my Red Skull got let's say like Ajax's text, and there's a location that helps. So now my Red Skull gets +5 this game. It's like, what the heck, dude? It just makes Sauron look bad. I mean, there is a world where they get text that's not particularly helpful, or like risky text, like, okay, Red Skull got arrow. I don't really want arrow right now. That's bad for whatever reason, but that could also be good. There are obviously other texts, or maybe Ajax, there's no afflicted cards. Ajax is nothing, but that's fine. You're just right back at Sauron in most worst case scenarios, because usually you're talking about cards that are going to have the worst possible text for their cost. I guess they could get themselves based on this wording, but that's very unlikely. And again, you're just right back where you started. But usually it's gonna be upside. Like usually those cards are gonna have better text. Oh my god, I got Typhoid Mary with Ares' text, and now I'm gonna have a 16 power Typhoid Mary. Cool, great. So yeah, this just looks really good. And I don't even know if you have to necessarily go like the full Sauron build for it. There might be other options that work as well. Like it suddenly opens up stuff with like negative on reveals, like Gladiator. Like maybe you don't want Gladiators on reveal. You just got a big 3-drop now with an even better text. So yeah, I think when you hit this on turn 2, absolutely game winning in decks that are built for it. This looks like Sauron 3.0 and looks insanely good as far as I'm concerned. So next up here is Jennifer Kale, a 2/2. Activate next turn, you get +1 energy. Yeah, looks good, dude. Like different than Psylocke, because this energy is timed. Like Psylocke is really good at opening up 4-cost plays you cheat out. Jennifer Kale will be very bad at that because obviously you can't activate her until turn 3, which means you wouldn't be getting the plus energy until turn 4. So this is really going to be about cheating out 5-drops or 6-drops when played on turn 2, which is different. Could be worse for some decks. Some decks love cheating out the 4-drops. Mr. Negative or Doom 2099 or whatever. Some decks might, though, want to cheat out a 5-drop for whatever reason, or probably more likely cheat out like 2 6-drops. You get to play a 6-drop on 5 and a 6-drop on 6. We know that can be very, very powerful. Stuff like setting up cool Arnim Zolas or whatever, it becomes a possibility thanks to Jennifer Kale. I will say this is a card that, falls off with activate if you play her too late, because she's like really chaining together that next turn. Like you don't get to activate until the next turn, and then you don't get the energy until the next turn. So there are definitely some hard cutoffs on when this is good, but some decks might really value this as a turn 2 that opens up that early turn 5, or turn 3 that opens up that early turn 6, whatever the case. Playing around 2 is fine in either instance, but you get the idea. So, niche may not be something a lot of decks care about, but from time to time, the exact right tool for a certain deck, she becomes a valuable card for that reason. So next up here is Morgan Le Fay. She is a new 4/5 with on reveal, return all your discarded and destroyed cards to hand with +3 power, which is actually a really big sort of effect. Number one, it's a giant buff. I think there are worlds where you just like destroy some small little garbage, I mean, even I don't know, Squirrel Girl into Killmonger, right? Like, okay, dude, I get a hand with a 1/5 Squirrel Girl and two 1/4 squirrels. Like, are you mad about that? That's pretty amazing one drops, right? Like, that's like, you already see that sort of package with like Thanos, for instance, Thanos and squirrels and death. Well, imagine adding a Morgan Le Fay in the mix, and it's like now not only do I get to power dump a 12 power death alongside all the, I did all this work to destroy all these cards. It's a 0/12 death. Now I also have a 1/4 squirrel, a 1/4 squirrel, a 1/5 squirrel girl. I have, some 1/4 Thanos stones. Like imagine that kind of turn. You could easily dump 20, 25 power there all at once in that kind of scenario. So that's just one example of course many, many more like destroy decks. Okay, I'll take an extra Uncle Ben that's a 1/5. Like why not, man? I don't know. I don't know if this really makes the cut in destroy decks. There's something there. Do keep in mind like for discarded and destroyed cards that like already stay in play, so like X-23 or Wolverine or even like Deadpool that gets returned to your hand. I don't think Morgan Le Fay will work in those instances because that card has already been returned or resurrected. Kind of like Hella won't return those sort of discarded cards to board or whatever. I don't think Morgan Le Fay will also, because she does say like return those to hand, not like add copies to hand or whatever. So there will be certain limitations for Morgan Le Fay, but I think there's still just a whole world of opportunity there where you could do some silly things, just get like this handful of powerful stuff, just extra resources. I mean, even like hand size, I guess is kind of relevant sometimes. It's like, well, is this a way to like fill up my hand for, Devil Dinosaur or Kahori or whatever? Is this a different kind of Moon Girl almost, like a different little spin or direction on Moon Girl? Or is it really just about generating all of that power? Or are there like key targets I want to play multiple times, right? I get some awesome on reveal, then I get to redo it again, almost like a bounce deck, right? I can actually see so many different little lines for this card. I don't actually know which one is most exciting or intriguing, but I have to imagine there are some big payoffs here because the sort of resource generation and the power added is like crazy in both of those instances. So I don't really know what I want to do with this card. I think people are going to start cooking, and I please start cooking in the comments already. I'm curious what cooks you have for this as you see it, but it just seems like it has really high potential and can do some very big things, which is often a great sign of success. All right, so that said, let's go ahead and rank these cards from the ones I think are going to be the best to the worst. My number one card is Dormammu. Number two is Merlin. Number three is Nightmare. Number four is Morgan Le Fay. Number five is Jennifer Kale. Number six is Nicolas Scratch. Number seven is the Ancient One. Number eight is Clea. And yeah, there you go, dude. I love this sort of theme for cards, like getting into some medieval fantasy and stuff. I like this. I like Camelot stuff. So pretty excited, dude. I think a lot of these look nuts. I think we'll see some changes to these cards though, man. I don't know. I think like Dormammu in particular, if I'm reading this the right way, it just seems completely busted. I don't know how you only spend 4 energy and get a 15 power card or something. This seems just too good. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. I don't know. We'll share your thoughts in the comments below. Either way, thanks much as always for watching. This will be my final Zoom meeting Regis video. The rest of the week, I pre-recorded some stuff before I left, so it might seem a little out of date or evergreen, but should still be some really fun videos throughout the week. So anyway, thanks for joining me. Share your thoughts down below, and I guess I will see you around.